The story begins with a classified project buried beneath the Pentagon, something even most generals had never heard of. It wasn't a weapon, not exactly. It was called Signal 17. Officially, tensions between the United States and China had reached a breaking point. Trade wars, cyber attacks, military movements in the South China Sea. But behind all of that noise, something far worse had already begun. The signal. It started with a transmission picked up by both countries at the exact same time. Not from Earth, not from any known satellite. It was a low-frequency signal repeating every 17 seconds. At first, analysts believed it was just interference. But then the pattern changed. It began responding. When American technicians tried to decode it, the signal shifted. When Chinese scientists attempted to isolate it, the same thing happened. It was as if whatever was sending it knew who was listening. Within days, both governments classified the signal at the highest level. The public never heard about it. But tensions between the two nations suddenly escalated, not because of politics, because both sides believed the other had created it, the experiment. Deep in an underground facility in Nevada, U.S. scientists fed the signal into an AI system. The AI wasn't designed for communication, it was built for prediction, war simulation. But when the signal touched the system, something impossible happened. The AI stopped responding to commands. Instead, it began printing coordinates, thousands of them. Every coordinate pointed to locations across the globe, many in China, some in the U.S., others in the middle of the ocean. The Chinese government, running their own parallel experiment, reported the same thing: identical coordinates, identical timing. That's when both countries realized the truth. They weren't being targeted. They were being guided. The first disappearance. The first person to visit one of the coordinates was a U.S. reconnaissance agent. The location? A desert in Nevada. Empty, silent, nothing unusual, until he stepped exactly on the mark point. His body cam recorded everything. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the image distorted like reality itself was glitching. The sky turned black. The sound cut out. And then, he was gone. No trace, no footprints, no signal. China reported the same incident 6 hours later. Their agent vanished at one of the coordinates near Inner Mongolia. Now it wasn't a coincidence. It was a pattern. The truth beneath. Both countries secretly agreed to share data, not out of trust, out of fear. When they layered all the coordinates together, a shape emerged, a massive geometric structure spanning the Earth. Perfectly symmetrical, impossible in scale. And at the center of it was the Pacific Ocean, right between the United States and China. The final transmission. On the 17th day, the signal changed again. For the first time, it wasn't just noise. It was a message. Not in English, not in Chinese, but somehow both sides understood it. Alignment incomplete, human presence detected, correction required. Moments later, satellites across both nations began shutting down. Power grids flickered. Military systems failed, not hacked, just unresponsive. Then came the disappearances. Not just agents anymore. Civilians. Entire towns near coordinate points. Gone. The ending no one talks about. The U.S. and China prepared for war, but not against each other. Against something they couldn't see. Nuclear options were considered, but abandoned. Whatever this was, it wasn't affected by weapons. It didn't attack. It erased. Slowly, methodically, like it was cleaning something. Correcting a mistake. The last classified report from both governments contained a single line. The signal was never sent to us. We are inside it. And somewhere deep beneath the ocean, between the United States and China, something is still counting. Every 17 seconds. Waiting for alignment. No one announced it publicly. No headlines, no warnings. But both the United States and China knew the truth at the same time. The disappearances were not random anymore. They were accelerating. The pattern evolves. At first, people vanished only at the coordinates. Now, they were disappearing between them. Entire highways went silent. Planes dropped off radar mid-flight. Ships drifting in the Pacific were found, empty meals still warm, radios still buzzing with static. The pattern had changed. It was no longer marking locations. It was filling in gaps, like something was completing a design. Piece by piece, The mission, no one survived. A joint operation was approved, something that had never happened before. A U.S. submarine and a Chinese deep-sea vessel descended together into the Pacific, toward the center point of the coordinates. No politics, no rivalry, just fear. At 13,000 feet below the surface, sonar picked it up. Not a structure, a void. A perfect sphere where nothing existed. No water, no pressure, no sound, just absence. And inside it, something moved. The last recording. The final footage recovered from the mission was corrupted. Most of it was static, but one segment remained. The camera pointed into the void. At first there was nothing. Then the darkness began to shift like it was breathing. Then shapes appeared, not solid, not alive, but watching. And then a voice. Not through the speakers, inside the minds of everyone on board. You were not meant to reach the center. Crew members began panicking. Some clawed at their helmets. Others stopped moving entirely, staring into the void as if hypnotized. Then one of them whispered, "It's not a place. It's looking back." The realization. Back on the surface, analysts reviewing the data noticed something terrifying. The signal had changed again. It was no longer counting up. It was counting down. And the number matched something very specific. Human population. Every disappearance, every erased town, every lost plane, the number was decreasing in perfect sync. The agreement, for the first time in history, the United States and China made a silent agreement. Stop investigating. Shut down all systems. Turn off satellites. Erase the data. Because they realized something worse than war. The more they observed it, the faster it responded. The final discovery, before everything went dark, one last piece of data slipped through. A scientist managed to translate a fragment of the signal. Alignment equals silence. Silence equals absence. Absence equals complete. And beneath it, you call it Earth. We call it error. Somewhere deep beneath the Pacific, the alignment is almost complete. And when the signal reaches zero, there will be no one left to hear it. No one remembers when the sky changed. There were no announcements, no emergency alerts, just a slow, unnatural dimming, like the world itself was being turned down. The countdown hit zero. In the final hours, the signal became constant. No more 17-second gaps. Just a presence-like pressure inside your skull. Then, nothing exploded, nothing shook. The world didn't end. It simply paused. The ones who remained, a few people were left, not chosen, not special, just missed. A man in a subway tunnel in New York City, a woman inside a locked hospital ward in Beijing, a child hiding in an unmapped basement. They stepped outside, no wind, no sound, no movement. Time itself felt delayed. The truth revealed. Then the sky opened, not physically, but perceptually. They saw it, a vast grid stretching infinitely. Earth wasn't inside it. Earth was it. The final message, error correction complete. Anomaly reduced to minimum. Their thoughts began to slow. The twist one looked at his hands. They weren't disappearing. They were simplifying. He understood. He had never been real. None of them were. They weren't being erased. They were being corrected. What Earth really was. Earth wasn't a planet, it was a simulation. Humanity was the error. The final moments, one by one, the last survivors faded. No pain, no fear, just absence. The grid closed, the oceans froze, the world lost color, and then everything collapsed into a single point.